Hello everyone and welcome to another video, and this one will be about the third round of the Gran Turismo World Series Manufacturers Cup at Fuji. And it was very challenging, I have to say. So dynamic weather was on in this race and the track conditions were constantly changing. As you can see, we started doing the qualifying with about 50% of the humidity down on the track, and you know, it was pretty wet, I have to say. It was very challenging, but as the time went on, of course the track was drying out, and you can see that my last lap was done with, I would say, about 30-35% of humidity on the track, and it was actually looking quite good. I mean, I've put the intermediate tires. Some of the guys actually went on slicks, so decided to get on racing hard tires just to see what, you know, what can actually come out of that. But I was sticking to this kind of safer approach, and it was good enough to get myself a P5. So it was a provisional P5, wasn't really the best one, and in the end it was P8. And this lobby was really high up, with the first one getting 427 points. And so the race went on. So it was the first lap of the race. You know, the conditions were changing, and they were changing quite dramatically. In like the 2 or 3 laps, you can completely change your whole strategy. But it was time to the start. I just took it a bit easier, but then something like this happened, and
yeah, sure,
you know, when something like this happens, you have absolutely no way to go. And I eventually pushed Mehdi out wide because I was literally pulled in that sandwich, and there was no way of me getting to the left or to the right. It didn't even matter. But the GTR was so insanely slow in these wet conditions. I mean, okay, in kind of a dry conditions it's an OP car, but in wet conditions it's something that you really do not want to drive. It's so slippery out of that second and third gear, and just the way the car moves in those very, I would say changing conditions, it's something that you really need to experience and to see how hard it is to actually stay on the track and, you know, stay with these guys. So everyone was really quick. I mean, it was the top split, and I think it was like the 4th slot of the day. It was something in, I think, started at about 4 p.m, so something in the middle. And I just tried to, you know, stay on the track, take it a bit easy, you know, getting into the rhythm, not really pushing that much. But, you know, it's Fuji, and every corner is, I guess, every corner is one that you want to take as an opportunity to go for a dive bomb. And, you know, I was pushed behind, I was just like pushed away, and I was constantly losing places. So this was, yeah, this was just one more place lost in that whole start. And Valerio behind just decided to make this outrageous move. And, you know, it's something that you can do with the NXX, but somehow I managed to stay on the outside of that turn, which led me into the inside of that one. And I was kind of okay-ish, but the car did slide a little bit too much on the way out of that last corner, and I was too far behind Mehdi to get something out of that, and I couldn't get the slipstream. So Antonio was behind, Valerio was behind, and until the next breaking point, I was 2 places down. So nothing was looking good. So I started this one in P8, and now I'm down into P13. It was almost 5 seconds behind the lead after first lap, and it wasn't looking promising. This was actually looking like a disaster. I almost rage quit it. I just wanted to rage quit at that point. I mean, I didn't know, I honestly didn't know what to do. I mean, it really didn't look any good. It was looking absolutely terrible. I mean, dropping a couple of places with the car that is not good in these conditions, and just making a couple of places after all of this will be quite challenging. And of course, it's Fuji. Just as I said before, it's Fuji. You can go for a move in, I guess you can go for a move in every single corner, but it's really not a wise idea to do that, because it's most likely gonna result in some kind of a crash, some kind of incident, or eventually something will happen. And I was just trying to take it easy. I could have went to that move on Coyote, but I decided to, you know, let it go, see how it goes on, and, you know, take it easy, just as my initial approach would be like. I mean, I really tried to take it a bit easier and not, you know, not push the car that much, because it was GTR in these conditions, like, not working, really not working. And, you know, I just decided to give Coyote a little push so we don't lose any more time. So it's actually better to give the guy in front a little push like that. And, you know, eventually I was kind of okay-ish. I was kind of doing okay pace, and it was lap 3. I mean, I was thinking about doing an early pit stop, but it was kind of interesting situation. So I decided to wait a little bit longer and go for the safer strategy and put the hard tires in lap 4, or actually by the end of lap 4. And if you can see the line drying out like it is right now, you can go onto the slick tires. Otherwise, stay on intermediates, and if you can see the bar is at about 30-35%. It's kind of that debatable situation if you really want to risk it or not, because if you just get outside of the dry line, if you go a little bit too wide in some corners, it's game over, basically. It's really game over. But the track was looking actually pretty good. I was catching up with the guys in front, and it was kind of okay for me. I got myself into P13, but you know, the pace was there. I mean, I actually had the quickest lap of the race at that point, 39.1, which isn't, you know, just, I want to explain it. This is really not the best lap. I mean, all of those other laps should be a lot quicker, but you know, in these conditions you really want to make the most out of every single lap, every single situation, because every tenth really matters, and especially if the guys are so quick, running so consistently, and basically you just want to find that little gap and go for that little gap. But just one lap later, Coyote got in this little incident, and I just didn't know what to do. I didn't want to go for that move, but I just found myself in a place where he gave me the space on the outside. I went for it, and eventually I was in P12. So I have to mention, look, going from P13 into P12, not the best I mean, it's okay, but I mean, it's fighting for literally for the last places in this lobby, so it was not looking that great. But okay, let's call it like that. It's P12, and now, just a lap later, I'm looking to get a P11, but yeah, the guy in front of me just decides to kind of make that late move, and I just decided, okay, maybe it's time to send it, like really, go and send it. So it was kind of a clean move. He got a little contact with me later, but in the end, when I was looking at this whole situation, everything was looking pretty good, and I kind of felt like the pace was there. So at first sight, like in those changing conditions, everything was looking not that great, and even Mehdi made that little mistake, which kind of put me closer to him, but I wasn't close enough to make a move and eventually go for that P10. But okay, like going from literally P8 into P13 and just once again into P11, the things started to change. But for the better this time, not like for the start of the race, which was absolutely an absolute disaster. I don't even know how this went, but just an absolute disaster. But I was behind Mehdi, I was kind of keeping up with him. I know he's a very fast driver. I mean, he proved that like a million times. So yeah, I just decided to see what can happen. And now we got this little situation. And I didn't know, okay, what the hell happened here? Whoa. And once again, in front of me, the guy goes off the track, and I just decided to give myself a little look at the replay, and it looks like his wheel disconnected in the race, like literally half of the race there. And once again, the guy in front, this happens. I really don't know what it was, but I think it was some kind of a lag, and this put me into the top 10 or into P9, into the top 9. I was already into P10, but I don't know yeah, just one little corner and one little straight, and I'm like up 2 places. So the things are looking quite promising. And once again, after a lap, Antonio decides to park his car and wait there. I don't know what happened. It was some kind of malfunction. I thought he was gonna rage quit because I don't know what was going on, but he stopped, he stayed there, and I was in P8, so literally going from the worst place in this whole lobby. Not the worst place, but I mean, there were like 2 more places in the lobby, but like from P13 into P8 in only a couple of laps. But okay, it's P8, it's nothing special, but I'm keeping up with all of the best guys, and I'm kind of keeping up with the pace of the leaders. Everything is looking kind of okay. I mean, I'm not complaining at this point. I'm like driving my own race, having a couple of good sectors, and eventually I just want to finish this race and maybe go into the next slot and see what can I do in the next slot. You know, that was kind of my idea. If this doesn't go to plan, I'm just going to go into the next slot and see what I can do there, because I already got some experience, I already got what I need. I mean, with all of those changing elements on the track, you really need to know what's going on, because it's really about timing those things perfectly. Even if you lose a tenth and a half, it's gonna be a deal breaker. I'm not saying that, okay, you lose a tenth and a half, but sometimes in the qualifying that means if you're going from literally P10 up to P5, and that's a huge difference, trust me. On this track, it's absolutely huge. So I was just minding my own business, nothing much was going on. But then, okay, P8, nothing special. I mean, it's the last lap. I'm pretty much gonna finish in P8 because it's just the way it is. And all I can see is one more crash in front of me, and I'm like, okay, what the hell happened? And like the two guys that I would never say that they were gonna crash, like absolutely out of nowhere, Valerio decides to do this. Or he didn't decide. I think he outbraked himself, and you know, he just waited for Aura, but it was kind of a bad situation for them because Aura was into P4. They were all just fighting for those top positions, and you know, it's kind of a... I feel bad about it, really. I didn't want to, you know, I really didn't want it to end up in that way, but you know, I'm into P6. Going from P13 all the way up to P6, it's something that you're not really expecting that it would happen. And just finishing the race in P6, and it was kind of an okay achievement, and I have to say, it was quite good. I mean, I actually felt quite good. And all of a sudden, I can see Kolster disappearing. He was gone. I don't know what happened. He might have rage quitted or something, or just a disconnect or something, but it pulled him out of the lobby. But the race was already over, and this promoted me into P5. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this race, and if you did, you can always smash that like button, or you can even subscribe to the channel. So thank you very much for watching this, and I will catch you next time. Bye.